Stardew Valley, an indie sensation that strayed off the beaten path of AAA gaming. Released in 2016, Stardew Valley at its core is a farming simulator. However, underneath the game's 2D 16-bit art style lies a masterpiece. Through elegant gameplay mechanics and a slow but rewarding story, the player discovers the unassuming joys of Pelican Town that we never knew we needed. The game begins with your dying grandfather gifting you a sealed envelope, instructing you only to open it when you feel crushed by the burden of modern life. Fast forward a certain amount of years and you are now working for the Joja Corporation. Slaving away at your desk job, you decide you finally need a change. Grandpa's envelope calls to you. You open it to find that Grandpa has left the deed to his farm in Stardew Valley to you. You desperately need a change and take the bus to Stardew Valley. Upon arrival, you are greeted by the mayor and the town's carpenter Leah. They help you set into your grandfather's old cottage and introduce you to your farm. And just like that, your adventure begins. From this point on, you are free to explore the valley and discover the game's many mechanics. Besides the obvious abilities to move freely, open your inventory, use tools, and discard trash, the game features many unique mechanics that make the game so special. First, and most importantly, is the ability to talk and interact with the many villagers of the valley. Each villager has a relationship meter, and over time, after many interactions, it will begin to fill up, signifying that you have become better friends with them. Further, as the player's friendship develops, the villagers will share more about themselves, whether it be interests, hobbies, personal struggles, or romantic love interests. Through a villager's friendship, new quests and parts of the map can be unlocked. The other prominent mechanic is the player's ability to farm. On your farm, you can plant a variety of seeds depending on the season and reap their corresponding crops. This mechanic is the core gameplay in Stardew Valley, and you must balance watering your crops every day with other necessary tasks throughout the valley. Further, although farming may seem surface level, there is lots of planning and critical thinking required to get the most out of your harvest. After collecting your crops, the player can sell them immediately or process them to increase their profit margin. The last key mechanic of the game is the player's ability to adventure via the player's ability to mine and fight in caves and dungeons. Over time, as the player ventures deeper and deeper into the mines, they discover more valuable ores and treasure. These ores serve as fundamental materials needed to advance the technology of your farm. However, as the player ventures deeper into the mines, fiercer enemies are there to guard the treasure. While interacting with villagers, farming, mining, and fighting are the core mechanics of the game, there are still many others. Fishing lets the player catch a numerous of aquatic creatures, crafting allows players to create new items, cooking allows players to create meals to replenish their health and energy, purchasing items grants the player the ability to get new items they need, digging, panning, and geode crushing allowed the player to search for treasure and artifacts, and donating said artifacts and treasure lets the player revamp the Stardew Valley Museum, and players can even decorate their house and farm with a variety of objects. Overall, each mechanic is extremely complex but simple to understand, and the combination of each mechanic allows the players numerous options and pathways to pursue the game how they enjoy it. The sandbox atmosphere created by the numerous mechanics of the game allow for each player to thoroughly enjoy it in their own way. After settling into your home and meeting the lovely villagers, the player soon discovers that Joja Corp has followed them into the valley and is looking to expand. Their eyes are set on the rundown community center as Morris, the Joja store manager, wants to turn it into a warehouse. With this warehouse, Morris explains he will be able to make many community upgrades with certain purchases from the player. Furthermore, after taking us inside the community center, Mayor Lewis explains that he is reluctant to sell the old community center to Morris, as the community center used to bring the town together. But Mayor Lewis says if one more person buys a Joja membership, then he will have to sell the community center to Joja Corp. However, the player notices a magical creature in the community center, as well as a golden scroll with an alien language. After meeting with the wizard and becoming one with the forest, we were able to communicate with the magical creatures called Junimo. Upon revisiting the Golden Scrolls, we see that the Junimo are requesting certain items in bundles. If a player completes a bundle, the Junimo rewards the player. However, if the player completes all the bundles in a set, then part of the community center will be restored, and the Junimos will also restore a part of the town, such as fixing the bridge, greenhouse, minecarts, or the bus to the Calico Desert. Lastly, if the player completes every single set in the community center, it will be restored in its entirety, and the community center will be revitalized, and ultimately result in the closing of Joja Mart in Stardew Valley. Overall, this gives the player two branching pathways for the player to choose from. The player can either work to collect unique items to rebuild the community center and bring the town together, or the player can sell out to the corporation that caused them to move to Stardew Valley in the first place. This branching point acts as the main choice within the game's story, as their decision will have massive ramifications for the rest of the game. While the community center and Joja Corp headline the story, there are many branching side stories that feature individual villagers, but also entire quest lines in new areas such as Ginger Island. Additionally, the game tells us the story of Stardew Valley in a multitude of ways. Not only is there dialogue between characters, but there is also beautifully animated cutscenes that allow for the characters of Stardew Valley to express lots of emotion. Lastly, the choices the players make in dialogue and gameplay advance the story, and this highlights the agency the player has as well as the level of detail put into the game. Further, the fleshed out story of the game extends to the characters. Each villager within Stardew has their own unique interests, hobbies, and story. With over 30 villagers, it is impossible to cover each one, but one of my favorites is Shane. When we first meet Shane, he's an employee of the Georgia Corporation who has a drinking problem. However, as the player develops their relationship with Shane, he reveals a darker side. It starts with the player finding Shane passed out drunk, but later the player catches Shane on the edge of a cliff contemplating suicide. Thankfully, the player is able to talk Shane out of it, and this event acts as a serious wake-up call for him, as he realizes a lot of people depends on him and he stops drinking. Moving forward, Shane seems a lot happier and shares his passion for chicken knowledge with the player and other villagers. The story of Shane isn't afraid to tackle hard topics such as abusive drinking behaviors or suicide, but the game allows the player to support Shane in his time of need. Although Shane's story is just one of many in this game, I think it serves as an example of how complex the characters in Stardew Valley are. Further, with each character featuring a complex story similar to Shane's, it emphasizes the liveliness of the town. Now that we've touched upon the villagers within the town, let's talk about the town itself, more specifically, the level design. Stardew Valley consists of 4 main areas: the town, the mines, the desert, and Ginger Island. While many of these areas feature large open worlds that can initially intimidate the player, I would disagree. By plopping the player down in these spaces, it is encouraging the player to explore these areas. In each of these areas, except in the mines, a map helps you find your way. Because of this, I never found myself getting lost, as I could always use the map to retrace my steps. Regarding the mines, both the regular mine and Skull Cavern took a linear approach. The deeper you ventured into the mine, the more riches and danger you would encounter. Overall, I found the levels in Stardew Valley were intuitive and easy to navigate, thanks to the provided map or linear nature. Lastly, gameplay objectives in Stardew Valley were never explicitly made clear, as the open world sandbox nature of the game allowed the player to create their own desired objectives. Tangentially, let's talk about the visual style and art direction of the game. This game is beautiful. The game runs on 64 bits but uses a 16-bit art style akin to the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. The 16-bit art style was definitely a decision to make development easier. This allowed the game's art to be extremely polished. While Stardew Valley does not feature photorealistic graphics similar to AAA giants, I don't think it needs to. Stardew Valley is able to hit all the emotional beats that the game features, both within regular gameplay and cutscenes. By manipulating the vibrant colors of the valley and playing with lighting, Stardew Valley is able to create any scenario that they need. Further, the limited graphical nature of the 16 bits also allow the player to infer scenarios to their liking. Overall, the story of Stardew Valley centers around slowing down and appreciating the simple little things in life. Although the graphical power of this game is limited when compared to others, I don't think this weighs down this masterpiece, but rather is an artistic choice that paid off. With this amazing art style, Stardew has really placed us in the driver's seat, and it's wonderful. Not only do the mechanics and gameplay feel amazing, but there is an incredible amount of things to interact with in the world. The villages, your crops, your house, debris on your farm, forageables, treasure in the mines, fighting monsters, holeable treasure spots, shop menus, hidden secrets, and many more. This abundance of options is slowly introduced to the player as they progress through the game as to not overwhelm them. And this game felt fun. The player character system was extremely intuitive and easily understandable. My only complaint was that some of the button mapping choices were a little bit confusing compared to other games in a similar nature, but this is a simple nuisance and does not hold the game back at all. With the mechanics mentioned before, I did find myself doing the same tasks over and over again. I probably harvested over 10,000 ancient fruits and made at least 100 trips to Skull Cavern to get the materials I needed for my farm. However, I thought the given missions the game gave you were a nice change of pace, especially the special orders board. Overall, I thought the pacing of this game was exceptional, as I can look past the more grindy aspects of the game as it presents exciting areas and fun, unique quests. Further, the overarching goal to complete the community center created by small, unique problems were extremely fun to plan and solve. However, this ultimately means that the player is faced with constant choices throughout the game, as there is only a limited amount of time in each day. Should the player venture in the mines or explore for treasure spots? Should we fish or complete quests? The player must constantly battle their opportunity costs to see what is most beneficial to them, and this aspect of the game is fascinating. Stardew Valley is one of the greatest games I've ever played. In a video game industry that rushes AAA studios to push out corporate slop to maximize profits, Stardew Valley is a breath of fresh air. Its unique charm is seen throughout the game and it is easy to see the love put into it by its creator. Indeed, the game is made by one person, Eric Barone, also known by his alias Concerned8. Barone developed all the code, visuals, music, unique mechanics, gameplay ideas, and so much more. This game and its creators serve as a testament to the scene of indie gaming, as the creativity within this game is unmatched by major gaming companies. And for those who are left wanting more, like me, amazingly, Barone is making the spiritual successor to Stardew Valley named Haunted Chocolatier and is expected to release in 2026.